6 years in the making. The Hornets finally get their man, Gordon Hayward. We'll talk about the 4-year, $120 million deal. He bet on himself, and tonight Fred VanVleet is cashing in, staying right with the Raptors. From undrafted to a key part of a championship and now earning a 4-year, $85 million contract. The champs putting in work. On Saturday, LeBron's squad retained a clutch member of the title squad, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We'll break down if the Lakers have gotten better this offseason. The fever is upon us, the free agent fever. Where else would you want to be? We appreciate you spending the next 30 minutes of your time with us on Game Time, free agent favor style. More than 60 deals have reportedly already been reached in just over the first 24 hours of the free agent period. We've got NBA champion Channing Frye. We've got a man who once, he says regrettably, traded for Channing Frye. Former NBA executive Tom Penn. I'm Jared Greenberg.
No.
Thankfully, we don't have time tonight to go into the details of why Tom pulled the trigger on that deal. But at any rate, let's go through some of the big stories on this Saturday. And the big one was after Gordon Hayward opted out of his contract, which would have paid him $34 million this upcoming season with Boston, he goes to a team that he signed an offer sheet with back in 2014, the Charlotte Hornets. It could reportedly turn into a sign and trade deal where Boston would ultimately get some cap relief by sending Gordon to Charlotte. But that is really not the big story here. We'll get more into Boston in a moment. But first, Channing Frye. Charlotte here, they draft LaMelo Ball the other day, and now they give $120 million to Gordon Hayward. Your take?
I mean, congratulations to Gordon Hayward. I think when you look at their team and their makeup, I just don't know where this fits in, though. I don't know. For $120 million, that person, if you add a $120 million player, you should automatically be put into the playoffs. And I looked at the 1 through 8, and I don't even have them 7 or 8. But just looking at their roster, you're asking Devontae Graham to do a lot. You're asking Cody Zeller to do a lot. And so for me, is Gordon Hayward going to turn back into the All-Star he was in 2017 with this really young core? Now, if he does, then okay, maybe. But still, I think 120, everybody during this period gets paid, and he got paid, so congrats. But good luck to the Hornets. I want to see if they make the playoffs this year.
All right, Rick Bonello, the Charlotte Observer, is reporting that as part of this deal, the Hornets will sign and stretch Nick Batum. But the other side of this coin here is that Boston loses out on Gordon Hayward. But, Tom, the reports tonight are that they may have finally gotten the center that they've been looking for, Channing's former teammate, Tristan Thompson, as well as a backup point guard, Jeff Teague. Now, a lot of details still need to work out, but what do you think of what Boston's been able to do here? And clearly they're going to work hard to try and make this a sign and trade with Charlotte to help them out.
Well, the Horford deal gives them great cap relief, not cap relief, financial relief. They save a ton of money because they're no longer in the luxury tax. That 30+ million just goes away, and he wasn't much of a contributor, as hurt as he's been. So they replace now with Tristan Thompson. And the reason they may do that sign and trade with Charlotte is in order to get a trade exception where they can then trade Thompson into that via sign and trade. I think they could do it without that. They're trying to maintain a full mid-level exception on top of getting Thompson. So you add Teague in the backcourt, you add Thompson, who, look, we've all seen what he can do rebounding the basketball and solidifying the middle, particularly on a playoff team. And they're in go-for-it mode still. Tatum and Brown really just starting to approach the early part of their prime. They've lost veteran year after year with Kyrie leaving and Horford and now Hayward, but they continue to be a very relevant team in the East, and Thompson's going to help them quite a bit.
All right, so that's the deal from Boston's standpoint. They get out from underneath the money from Gordon Hayward, and it looks like they'll get Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague, but those details still yet to be worked out. Another big deal that got done on Saturday is the guy that maybe half the league would have loved to have. Fred VanVleet signs the largest contract for an undrafted player in NBA history. VanVleet stays with the team he helped win its first title, getting $85 million over 4 years. Coming up on this edition of Game Time, Doug Smith, beat reporter of the Toronto Star, joins us to discuss VanVleet staying and how much it means and what else is next for the Raptors. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hawks continue to do work. Not only did they get Gallinari on day one of free agency, but on day two, look what they do to surround Trae Young in the backcourt. Some defensive-minded guys, some leadership. Rondo coming over from winning a championship with the Lakers, and Chris Dunn, one of the premier perimeter defenders in the league, signed to the Hawks. And there's also reports tonight that the Hawks are still actively pursuing with their cap space Bogdan Bogdanović, who last year played with the Sacramento Kings. So Channing, what's your take on what Travis Schlenk and the Atlanta Hawks have done?
Personally, I like it. Personally, I love it. I think Trae Young is a special talent. They've seen enough. They know what they need to surround him with. If Rondo is healthy, he's bringing leadership, preparedness, expectations to win every night. Gallinari's been a pro. When he's healthy, he's very dangerous. He's a matchup problem. You saw what he did in OKC. Chris Dunn is a steady guard. Obviously, he's going to help them on the defensive end. And the fact that they're going for it is putting pressure on Trae Young that, hey, you're an all-star now. Now we need you to win. You showed us as one of the 20 best players in the NBA. We need you to win, and we're going to surround. And you have the other guys that they drafted last year. Depending on what happens with Collins, I like this team. Again, I have them in that bunched-up group with the Orlando Magic, the Hawks, the Wizards. In Chicago is that team vying for that 7th and 8th spot.
And Tom, Travis Schlenk still has some money to play with.
Yeah, this is one of those situations, looking at the year, would they have enough talent to fill up all that cap space they had? They've done a pretty nice job here. You know, Gallinari's a terrific locker room guy. Rondo's really hit or miss. You don't know what you're going to get. Remember what happened down in Dallas. Things can go haywire with him. They gave him quite a bit of money. So, you know, you don't know which Rondo you're going to get. But for them, when you look last year, you know, all the production for the Hawks came out of their youth, which is what you want when you're trying to build. And then they add to that youth with Okongwu. So they've got all their hope and promise for the future in building everything around Trae Young. Well, it's time to bolster Trae Young and his brilliance, and Collins and Hunter and all the other Reddish, the young talent they have, with this veteran mix that Channing did a great job of describing. So it's a nice next step to get them legit and get them into the playoffs, and then see if their greatness can evolve to where they can be really interesting in a couple of years.
Nice to see teams being aggressive and going forward, even if it doesn't mean championship or bust. It means, as Channing said, vying for that play-in round of the playoffs at 7 or 8 in the Eastern Conference. Let's go back to the Western Conference. Another former teammate of Channing Frye, Carmelo Anthony, signing another one-year deal with the Blazers. Channing, we could never have imagined a year ago how good of a fit this was. Why do you think Melo agreed to take another one-year deal to remain with the Blazers?
I think what they've done here with the Blazers, obviously I live in Oregon, so I've watched a lot of it, and it's this leadership. They allow him to have the voice. They run specific plays for him, and he's the third guy. So for him, the pressure's not on to always get 25, 20 a game. Certain games he's going to get 10, and if he's rolling, he's going to get his shots. They're going to look for him. Damian Lillard and CJ need him, not only in the locker room, they need him on a court with his just his sense of calm and situations. He has some huge shots for the Blazers. So adding him and then adding Rodney Hood, Derrick Jones Jr., adding Enes Kanter, some more vets, the Blazers are always going to go for it as long as Damian Lillard is their point.
Great offseason so far by Neil O'Shea and the Portland Trailblazers. Channing and Tom, come back with me on Game Time. We'll talk about the champs. They've lost a couple of pieces from their backcourt, but they have brought in some pieces as well.